I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good evening and welcome to the February 21st Board of Public Affairs meeting. First on the agenda would be approved minutes of the February 7th board meeting. All seen that. Additions, corrections. If not, I'll entertain motion to approve.
Seeing no changes, Dick, I'll make a motion we approve.
Second.
Jim?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Next on the agenda will be a hearing of public concerns. Seeing none, we'll move on. Next on the agenda will be the Clerk-Treasurer's report.
The board's been presented with the Clerk-Treasurer's report for the month ending January 31st, 2023.
Any questions? Discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion we approve the Clerk-Treasurer's report for January 2023.
I'll second.
Annette?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Next on the agenda will be the 2022 year in review for the electric department.
Good evening. Much like the last meeting, we're going to do the 2022 year in review for the electric department. I'll start it off, talk about power supply and power supply cost a little bit and some of the finances. And then Al and Jim will talk about some of the projects. We'll start with power supply. The chart there to the right shows all of the energy sources from 2022 and what percentages those were. Total for the year, we used just over 186,000 megawatts of energy, which was 2.1% above the 2022 forecast and also 2.3% above the usage in 2021. BP remaining requirements contract, that made up 29.6%, which was up from the previous year of 2022. Prairie State Energy Campus was down a little bit to 26.3 from 28.2. The AMP Fremont Energy Center was up to 19.8% from 17 the previous year. BMU Energy Sources, that's our solar field and Allglaze, that was down to 6.7% from 7.1 the previous year. Total renewable energy sources made up 23%. 17.6 of that came from AMP projects, and then 5.4% of that is BMU's renewable sources. Blue Creek Wind Farm, that ended at the end of June this year. So that percentage was 1.4, which was down from 2.2 the previous year. Power supply cost. 2022, the wholesale power supply cost was $54.77 a megawatt hour. That was down 8.7% from the $59.82. If we take a look all the way to on the graph to the right there, the green column for 2022, you'll see $63.15 a megawatt hour. That's what our annual power supply cost is. That's the AMP cost plus the BMU cost. All the bullet points on the left, those are all factored into that $63.15. Things to note throughout the year that the transmission and the congestion costs were much higher than expected. We were also able to take advantage of the higher market energy prices, so we were able to sell our power at higher rates than we forecasted at. That amounted to $1.6 million in sales. 2022 transmission and capacity savings, $4.8 million. That is our generation and our peak shaving, which Jim will talk about a little bit more later. The sale of AMP project recs was a savings of $214,000. And then the sale of our own BMU recs accounted for $150,000 in revenue. And even with purchasing the solar field, we were able to save about $169,000. So all of those factors combined, you end up with the $63.15 a megawatt hour. Just an overall look at the electric utilities O&M expenses. You can see in the blue there, power supply is the largest expense at about 78%, a little over $13 million last year. The distribution system, 13%, $2.1 million. That's your 18B and your 18H accounts. Customer service and administration, 6.6%, a little over $1 million. And then the billing and accounting at 2.3%. So that's what makes up all of the expenses on the O&M side for the electric utility. Some of the financials, we can start in the 501 or the O&M fund. We began the year at $12.1 million. We budgeted for revenues at $19.7 million. We ended the year at $20.7. So our revenue and our sales were up a little bit, which you'll see in another slide. Expenses for the year were budgeted at $18.9 million. We ended the year at $17.4. So we spent less than what we anticipated. That left us with a net margin of just about $3.3 million. We did budget to transfer to the capital fund $2 million. The actual transfer was a little over $4 million. That very similar to what we did in the water department. At the beginning of 2022, we did the initial $2 million transfer. We did another $2 million transfer in the late fall so that we could get projects started this year and get materials ordered. And then the other $50,000, that was from the overpayment on the solar field lease that was returned to us once we sold it. That money was then transferred to capital to help offset the cost of that purchase. We then ended the year with a fund balance of $11.4 million, or a decrease of about $750,000. We moved to the 515, the capital fund. We began the year at $2.1 million. Again, we budgeted for the $2 million transfer or revenue. That ended up being a little bit over $4 million. Our expenses, we budgeted at $2.3 million. We ended the year at $2.5. Again, kind of like the water department, we had AMI expenses in there that we had anticipated to be spent the year prior. We ended with a margin of $1.5 million and a fund balance at almost $3.7 million, or an increase of $1.5 million. If we look at the 501 and the 515 combined, we started the year at $14.3 million. We ended the year at $15.1, or an increase of about $760,000. Just a graph here of total cash comparison. 2022 is the yellow line in the middle. You can see we stayed fairly consistent throughout the year with our total cash. There was a slight increase towards the end of the year. Did a little bit better than 2021, and actually at the end of the year better than 2020 and 2021. This we're just going to look at electric sales by class. The far column to the right is 2022. You can see the industrial class makes up about 55% of the sales, or 10.6 million. The residential class makes up about 30% at 5.7 million. And the commercial class, 15% at almost 3 million. For the year for 2022, total sales of 19.4 million. That was up about 600,000 from 2021. This will just look at kilowatt usage by class. You can also see the blue there, 57%. That's our large power or industrial class. Used almost 101 million kilowatt hours. Our green, the residential class, 46 million kilowatt hours or 26%. And then the yellow is the commercial, just over 23 million kilowatt hours, 13%. And then the red is the free service, which was just over 6 million kilowatt hours of usage. Just looking here at kilowatt usage by year, you can see at the end of 2022, almost 170 million total kilowatt hours. Like we talked about a little bit ago, a 2% increase from the previous year. And then also when you look at the graph, you can see from 2020, we're slowly selling more power. We're slowly, increasing those kilowatt hours. So that's good. Financial plan and some goals moving forward. Salvo and Associates had completed a cost of service study previously for us. We put a 3-year rate increase plan into place. The first one was November of 2021. The last one will be November of 2023. Like always, monitor our finances closely and adjust if necessary. Power supply. The BP remaining requirements, that ends at the end of 2024. That is some of our cheapest, if not our cheapest power, at about $36 a megawatt hour. So it's going to be very important that we start looking for replacement power for that. And then also the renewable energies, we talked a little bit ago about, we ended the year at about 23%. The board has given direction to shoot for that 25% of renewable energy sources. We lost the landfill gas, and then we also lost the Blue Creek Wind Farm. So that's kind of where that shortfall came. Late summer, we brought to the board the solar power purchase agreement, and that I believe is still being negotiated. So that will help us that 23%, hopefully get to 25 again. And then peak demand, just continue to educate and maybe enhance, the message that we're putting out there about that and how important it is not only to our power bill, but the customer's power bill too. We all see savings when we all participate in that. Just to talk about the Good Neighbors Fund real quick. The Good Neighbors Fund was created in 2005 to assist local residents who experience difficulty paying their utility bills. This fund will provide up to a maximum $250 per year per qualified customer. It is funded by the generosity of area residents. And during 2022, we received just a little over $1,800 in donations, and for the life of the Good Neighbors Fund, a little over $125,000 in total donations. Just some more about the Good Neighbors Fund. This fund is administered by NOCAC, and it is funded 100% by donations. In 2022, it was able to assist 15 families, and over the last 937 families. So we certainly appreciate the support the community has provided for this program. And if anyone is interested in donating to it, I believe there's information at cityofbryan.net, or you can call our office for more information. If you don't have any questions or comments, I'll turn it over to Al to talk about some of the distribution projects.
I was just going to ask you about the renewables, where you said on that first page where the renewables were 23%, and that's why it's, compared to the previous year there, I guess I don't know what would they be, 2020, because I know we had a target of 25%, and I was believing that we'd hit that point at some point in time. Does that seem to be a trend now with the renewables or the sources? I don't want to say drying up, but are they, I mean, you can't control the sun, obviously, and, or the water level at the dam.
Right, I think a lot of it has to do with the landfill gas fell off.
Is it?
And then the Blue Creek fell off too. And so getting that solar in there, and then even with the BP remaining credits, as we lose that, there's probably options for additional renewable sources.
So there should be other sources coming in. Okay, thank you.
Of course, too, we might get the that solar project. Try to get in on that, so that'll move us back on. Okay, thanks, Eric.
Hello, everyone.
Hiya.
Projects that I have up here are in a particular order. I may expound on a couple of them a little more than others, just because we had so much involvement throughout the year in them. But I'll go ahead and, the East Wilson Street underground project, that was a boring project that we had done at the beginning of the year. Went from like, if you know East Wilson Street, if you know where ditch 40 is, it extended all the way out to Bryan Senior Campus area, which this was in turn to get rid of our feeder 1 overhead that we have on the north side of Wilson Street. That's one of the projects that we did to get rid of that overhead line. We also had a overhead line that we built from on East Wilson Street from Winsler Drive to the Bryan Senior Campus, which we will put Bryan Senior Campus on our feeder 3 out of the industrial park and get it off of feeder 1. Doing that will allow us to get rid of that overhead line on the north side of the road there. So there were 2 projects that we did for that. The 200 block of East South Street was a little project for triplex that was put in. We just put in about 100 feet of primary and a pad mount transformer and did some work there. The AMI project, of course, that was our big project for 2022. I believe in the February, towards the end of it, we started receiving meters. We received a load in February, I believe in April and June, and our final shipment was in August for the meters. So during that time, our crews, really took control of the project and really took it to heart and really wanted to do a good job and get these done with minimal problems, and they did. They successfully did it. And everybody was involved from the crew, line crew, to the meter readers, to Justin, our warehouse guy. Adam was a big part. Jay was a huge part in getting coordination with what meters we're going to change out and keeping track of which ones we have left and which ones have been done. So Jay was a big help in that. Towards the end of the year, December 31st, I believe we were right around 4,900 meters installed. At this point today, we're at 5,533. A majority of all the distribution or residential meters are installed, the disconnect meters that we had installed. We still have the 3-phase large power and free service meters or unbillable service meters to install. But like I said, everybody did a great job, and they took charge of the project, and we got it done. So it's one thing I was glad it went. Working with the clerk's office, that went pretty smooth, and that transition. I know we had a lot of hiccups with just not even Lori having staffing problems. We had staffing problems too during this time, but we were able to overcome it and get the project done. So I'll move on from there. The D50 project, I believe there was 12 or 15 poles that were replaced in that D50 East Mulberry Street area of town due to condemned poles that we had in our system. The water treatment plant generator, that was a project Adam and I worked on probably since 2005, 2007, when we know we needed to get rid of the 4 kV from in the plant. And that was our last circuit at the water treatment plant, was the 4 kV backup for that. They had it, I know Dick probably remembers that old generator over there that we were trying to use, but it didn't work out and didn't, which is probably a good thing that it didn't, because what we have now is way far better from that. And, you know, just the coordination that Adam showed with CAT and making the planning and everything was great. You know, helping the water guys put in the pad and the conduits and pulling the cable from the power plant, terminating the cables and stuff and the switch gear and the automatic transfer switch and all the equipment that was on the building. So just that was another project that was pretty satisfying to see completed this year in 2022. It was a long time coming. We did do a material bid at our power plant to Edgerton Street. That was materials only. We did get that, I believe in June. We awarded that to Annexter, and they are now, we're slowly getting materials trickling in. I don't believe we're probably slated to get all of our materials in till August of this year, just because of the lead times and stuff that we got going on. So that's you know, something that we want to continue on and start building that line, but we need to have the stuff to do it. So, but we got everything on order, and we hope to get it in and possibly get started this year, if all possible, with something, even getting some of the poles replaced. Of course, we bid the underground boring for Deerfield. Prices came in over budget, and we did not award that project, which, you know, kind of gave us the opportunity then to purchase the directional boring rig, which is slated to be in May. So that's something we're looking forward to. We had a little pole replacement project out in Rachel Heights. Again, that was another 11, 12 poles that we replaced out there to upgrade that system. And we rebuilt a transformer bank and redone the metering at the Allied Molded maintenance garage over here on East Malta. We did a little project out in Greystone subdivision, extended the cable and transformers from customer installed conduits. We did do, I believe, 400 and some feet of primary on Anna Lane out in Rachel Heights. Did some underground secondary as well out there as an underground project that we dug in this year with the trencher. We installed a new service for a new airport hangar out on County Road D. That was a 3-phase service. And we had to extend the a couple phases of 3-phase overhead for that project. And the wells back here, 3, 4, and 5, the generator project. Again, Adam was instrumental in planning and coordinating with CAT and the guys putting in all the conduit for that project and laying it out. Was all a good project for us to work with the water department and also the power plant guys too. It was a good project to be involved in. State Route 34, this is out by the solar field. If you ever drove out there, you noticed the leaning poles out there. This was a Frontier communication line, and the winds blew the poles over. So we went in with our poles and set them in there straight and tamped in the poles with stone so we don't get them blown over. So that was a project that we did in 2022. Parkview lighting project was new. That was a street improvement project. We had put our new lighting down the street. I think there's a couple blocks there, and the city parking lot project, of course, behind the old Peebles uptown was the lighting was all part of the project that we had done. And Pleasantwood was another street improvement where we put a couple poles on there. And of course, I mentioned before, the directional boring machine purchase was something that we we did in 2022. Notable projects, just as you know, I normally note just things that we do for the community, and you know, of course, we do terrace tree removals with the street department every year. We're involved in that now this year, but we did do that last year with them. The Christmas light installations and removals every year. Tree trimming and the distribution system and Marcus Corridor. We had contracted Asplin to do that, and we will continue with them this year to continue that, as it's proven to really help with outages and stuff on our system. We did do some gate work, some signage and gate replacements on the Marcus Corridor. We sprayed a kill on the weeds on the path on the Marcus Corridor, and we did have some condemned pole replacements in town. The police department did do a streetlight audit for us. I mean, that was great. We did complete that audit of the streetlights. They just made a list of the ones driving around town all the time that are out. If we don't get notified of them being out, we don't know they're out, you know. So it was nice that they did that, and we were able to work with them and get them repaired. As you know, we do a Lions Club temporary service for their Christmas trees, and the AMP monthly and quarterly training that we all participate in throughout the year. Other notable projects: we installed some aerial markers on our 69 line for the airport. It wasn't a requirement, but they did request that for visual on the flight path coming in. So we did order some of them markers and have them installed on our 69 to help pilots and stuff see the line. We hang banners in the rec park and on the courthouse square. The Jubilee temporary services we install, as we do every year. The Day in the Park temporary services as well. We held poles for the sewer bursting project throughout their time in the southwest quarter, and we did a vault replacement on the courthouse square that was damaged from someone driving over it. Located a service for Jim's office over at the power plant due to the new station that's being built over there. We had to redo that service. And we wrecked out the 4 kV overhead at the water treatment plant and done all we could do over there. Oktoberfest temporary service, and we have RP3 Diamond certification for the utility. Squirrel proofing, as we do every year. Glass bell and cutouts and lightning arrestor change outs. This is more maintenance that we do every year on our system. We assisted the city engineer with traffic pole removal and replacement on South Main Street due to an accident. The rec park, Sumter Field light bulb replacements. Capacity study on the Industrial Park North with Spectrum Engineering was completed. We hired Derek Wyrick and Noah Landell in 2022 as line workers. And we assisted the communication department with the AMI gateways for the AMI system at Lakeland Woods and Norlick subdivision. Electric driveway dust control project. Sprayed some dust control on our parking lot back here to keep down the dust for our neighbors and for ourselves. Getting dust through our building and stuff, trying to keep our stuff clean it's trying, and it is kind of hard to do. So we try to do the best we can and do little projects like that to help where we can with that. Assisting the communication with an overhead fiber install, and that was on our ductile iron pole line over here by in the other industrial park, south of the industrial park. And we do a number of different service upgrades, you know, with our truck 3. 2023 projects, of course, we did materials only for the Deerfield Underground project and materials only for the Carson Drive Underground replacement project. We'd like to do the 100 block of North Main Street, replace the old mold cast lights from the 1980s, early 80s with what we did on South Main Street, 200 block of South Main, which was with the Acorn historical lights. So that's something we may want to do this year. And we'd like to buy a floor scrubber and sweeper, and also a traffic control device, which we have already purchased, and they're sitting back here in our yard if you're interested in looking at them. And we did do that with the city engineering, and we split that up, so they bought a unit and we bought a unit. So that was a cost savings for both of us, and it gives both of us and the whole city a great tool to use for safety. It's you know, if you're out in traffic and you're flagging, it's one of the most dangerous things you can do. So this will alleviate having people out in traffic. So it was a good buy for us. Other than that, if there's any questions, I'm glad to ask or answer.
Is Wilson Street substation still in service?
Just
Or Daggett, I guess, yeah.
the 34.5 is still in service.
But there's no
until-
circuits fed out of there?
No distribution circuits. All the 12 kV is gone. It's just the 34.5, 69, 34.5 transformer.
So all the distribution out there comes out of the new
Yep.
industrial.
Yep. And all the, like the Daggett 1, 2, and 3, we kind of matched them with the industrial 1, 2, and 3. So, you know, if you remember the old Daggett 1, that's
Oh,
the
yeah.
industrial one now.
Oh, is it?
So,
Okay.
Yeah. So we wanted to do that to keep everybody's minds, you know, right.
Yeah.
And that way we keep it straight.
Old
So,
habits die hard, yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
And now,
Thank you. Thanks, Al.
I'd like to really quick thank you, Al, too. Sorry, Jim. At the end of the year, we started talking with the police department about the block cameras, and you guys were really helpful, your department, working with engineering and making sure we had all the connections for that, so thank you.
Yep.
That system's been very handy for them.
Yep. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
2022, and of course, I'll start out with what we do to, I guess, the biggest thing we do every year, even though it's not every day, but our PGM, 5CP, that was kind of, those are all the averages that we would have used for all those 5 CPs through the whole period of June through September 30th. The reason why the savings are in the 495 and not $1 million or something like that, because the capacity has been going down in AEP because they have built enough generation to the point where even this year it goes from $1.54 a megawatt month to $1.04. Okay. However, when we get to the transmission side of it, it goes the other direction. So it's going up about 20 to 30 cents every year for that kilowatt per month. And so this summer, last summer on June 22nd on 4 p.m., we hit the one at 28.1. The transmission period is from November 1st to October 31st for the next year. So when October 31st comes around, then that sets the price for the transmission for the next year, where PJM switches in June. So you pay 2022 up to June 1st, and then June 1st, 2023 savings kick in. So it gets kind of convoluted there with how that all works. But those were the savings that happened during that, just so that you know. So far, the one that we did on December 30th and 31st was 28.6. This was 28.1. So we're hoping that that's going to be kind of our saving grace this summer, is not having to chase that 1 CP because you only get one shot at it. And you either hit it or you don't. But for the savings that we're going to see as a whole is a little over $4,053,000 this year. But remember now that all, it goes through part of the year, and then June 1st it changes a little bit, so you just don't see that as a whole like that. So if you add them all up together, we get that $4.5 million and some change. We sold wrecks this year for 2022. Some of them came out of 2021, but we realized the money by December 31st of 2022, and we sold 11,000 megawatt hours for 123,000 of the hydro plant, and on the solar field we sold 2513 for 2680 for a total of 156,428 this year. We are trying to work with AMP, and they have Derek and Sylvia and myself was on a conference call with AMP, and the lady down there showed us what we need to do to reapply for other places like DC and New Jersey and other states where the cost or the price for a wreck is sometimes 3 to 4 times as high. So it gets in the $20 to $30 range instead of the single digit range. So we're going to try to work on that this year so that we can take care of more of our customers here and be more frugal with that purchase. This is the Auglaize generation, and it's just a chart over the last 4 years. 2022 is the yellow one, and I know I told Dick this before when he stopped over at the power plant and stuff, but the last 3 months it's just like it never rained, and we just never got any water for anything. I've got 2.5 megawatt already in this right now at the Auglaize just because it started raining in January and February. And so I'm happy that it's going to rain Wednesday, at least I hope tomorrow it does, another inch, because then I can get everything back up and running full again. But yeah, last fall was a very dry year. But what was nice about it is that we had water in June, so we were able to run through that 1 CP and help out with getting some funds for that. Some completed projects. The 34.5 is still in progress. We've got stuff dug up. I'm sure you've all been by it, but now the weather's kind of keeping us away. I can't dig up a foundation hole and then leave it set and get wet and everything else, because when then they test the soil, it's not going to be hard enough, and then we have to do remedy on that. So it's just best to wait and do it properly. They got all the utilities from a sanitary and from a power standpoint rerouted. We do have to move a communication line that will go right over the top, but we'll do that once we get all the stone back in there and start working on the structure. Also, I guess I'll talk about that a little later. The RTU and SCADA at Curtin Bechtel are done. There's a picture of the new Select system that's in there. It's trouble-free. We used to have those drop out all the time, just randomly, and now we can communicate with them very easily. The GT water lines, so that we can have some water out there, and extra cooling on the oil when we have really hot days, really makes the generator run cooler, which anytime you can run anything that's spinning cooler, it helps out. So we appreciate the water department helping us get that all done. Solar field purchase, we have Joe helped us get it changed over out of Frontier, so it's on our system now. So now we don't have that dropping out. I don't know what the line problem was out there, whatever. Maybe it was due to the poles that were leaning or something like that. But we had the internet drop out multiple times out there until we switched over to our system. Also, the insurance had asked for like a couple things from transmission or the transformer oil to measure the lines underneath to do things, and we just completed that a couple weeks ago. Thanks to the line guys taking all the PTs and the LAs out, because we didn't want to blow them up with megging something. So they took all that apart for us, and then we were able to meg all that stuff using Jim as a third-party tester to get it all taken care of, and it's all passed, and the insurance has received the information and give me confirmation back that they received it and they're good. They closed it all. And then the Norberg EPA compliance, every time we change those filters with a new filter, we have to test. That's every 3 years. The filters that came back, we don't have to retest because they were already tested and we sent them out to get cleaned. So we think that they will probably be just fine for the future. But we passed all that, and it was really no issue. For 2023, the 34.5 for the plant, I've talked about a little bit for that. I'm working with Spectrum, which is in trust now, and they're writing up to get the specs and everything correct for us to go out, which is why we transferred some of that money that Derek talked about to go out and start advertising for the bid for the transformer, so at least we can get on a list. A lot of the lead times we're hearing, I don't know about other places, but we're hearing 2 years. So we're hoping that maybe they'll catch up and people will get some copper pennies and they'll be able to stack them up for us and get it a little quicker. But we want to prepare for the future for all that. SCADA upgrades, we're still going through those. We got Cherry to do and Baker. And then we should have most everything upgraded. We'll probably, if we have any funds left over, is work on the SCADA for Auglay so that they're all upgraded and we don't have an antiquated system still hanging out there that we got to take care of later. Auglay's hydrant plant, head gates, intakes. We had to reskin a couple of the head gates because they just rusted right through, so we couldn't even seal it off. But the electrical department helped us set some of the coffer ones outside there along the intakes, and we were able to repair those. So we're going to look at some more of those this year. Security improvements. And then also I'm working on number 3 to try to, the crew that I have, you know, is a great crew. And the 2 and 3 are really kind of getting worn out just from the years of operation and stuff. But we've done some things to number 2 by offsetting the shaft and stuff like that to keep it plumb. And we're going to try to do that on 3 so that we can still use 3 until we're able to get through the power plant sub and some other things before we start adding more onto the plate that we don't have enough people to do now. So those are kind of the highlights. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Everything's going great here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we'll pay the bills. I'll entertain a motion that we pay the bills.
I'll make a motion that we pay the bills.
I'll second.
Jim?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Next on the agenda will be comments from BPA and staff. Derek?
I just want to thank Al and Jim and their crews for all the work they did this year, or this past year. That's it.
Mayor?
Well, good job on your annual reports. There's always something I learn, which I enjoy. And council did pass the resolution for the ag district approval last night, so I think Lori processed that paper as the designated signer, so we are good to go in the industrial park. Thank you.
Lori?
No, sir, thank you.
John? Al? Jackie? Jim? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just, if you were in Bryan this morning, you probably noticed a few blips in town. What that was a car accident out on the JV4 line that took out one of our JV4 poles, just about 1,300 feet north of County Road G. Crews came in, we were able to transfer chase brass over in Montpelier substation through their MB1 breaker up there, which would alleviate us to open up this section of line so we could replace the pole. And the crew did an excellent job getting that done. We had everything wrapped up and done by 1 o'clock, and we were able to get everything back to normal by 2 for chase and everything. So just a little bit of thought there, you know, that things can happen out there, and then it kind of comes back, the high fault current comes back, and we do see things in town. I mean, we blinked like 4 times or 4 here, so it's a little explanation there of what happened this morning. A little exciting.
Pretty windy day to set a pole.
Yeah, we had that.
Good job.
Yeah, they did excellent job.
Jackie? Jim? Press, you have anything?
I don't think so. Thanks.
Okay. Karen?
Just keep it short. I'll echo what you said there, Derek, about
everybody doing a good job on your reports. I'd like to have that review and hear about it during the year, but it's good to see it all come to fruition and its completion, so it's good to know. Also, I was happy to hear that the police department is letting you know when there are street lights out. It's a good safety, good to work that way together and keep things safe. And thanks to the police department, share that for them.
Annette?
I always enjoy listening to the summary of the 2022 report, so great job on the presentations to all the supervisors there. And look forward to the 2023 projects also, so great job. Thank you.
Mr. Salsbury?
Yeah, Jim and Al, thanks for a good presentation, and please thank your crews for all their hard work. That's all I got.
And again, thanks for the annual report, it was great. And that's about all I have. And with that, we'll be going into executive session to discuss collective bargaining and compensation of a public employee. With that, I'd like to have Jackie, the board, Lori, Mayor, Derek, stay. And just for the press, we will not be taking any action tonight. But thanks.